What did that kid in your school get expelled for? High school. Senior year. He was the stereotypical computer geek / pocket protector kid. Very smart. Generally quiet. Was nice but awkward. He somehow found a way to access the part of the school's storage network where teachers could save their files. He made copies of thousands of quizzes, tests, answer keys, etc. Lots were from his APU's history teacher, but I was told he had stuff from most teachers. He sold copies of answer keys and exams to kids. Eventually someone told the school administrators. They contacted the police. And while he was at school one day they went to his house with a warrant and confiscated his computers. Arrested him when he came home. Teachers were pissed. Every compromised test had to be remade. Hundreds of hours of work for his history teacher, who had to remake all his lesson materials for the year over again. They threatened him with the possibility of being prosecuted as an adult, that each file was its own felony, and he was looking at 1,000s of charges. This was ultimately to just get a plea deal, which was something like a lot of community service, expulsion from that school, and probation. I think if he made it through probation it would all end up sealed or something. This is the kid you hire to prevent that kind of stuff. Seriously, that would be tempting to put on a resume. To be honest, a lot of high schools, especially 5 to 10 years ago or more, had really speepy security, and it doesn't take much to get access to this type of speep. I had friends in high school that had access to pretty well anything they wanted, but never abused it, because illegal and nothing to gain, that they deemed worth the risk. He shouted "Get your tits out" at the Queen of England as she drove past in a procession that our school were watching. Oh Liz. Show us your diamond jubblies. A guy at my secondary school, rural Scotland, built a homemade pipe bomb and brought it in to show his science teacher. School was evacuated and a bomb squad from Edinburgh had to be called out. What makes me a good demoman? If I were a bad demoman, I wouldn't be sitting here discussing it with ya, now would I? Let's do it. Not one of ye's gonna survive this. One crosswire, one wayward pinch of potassium chloride, one errant twitch, and kablooey. All ye find Andes, prance in a boot with your heads full of eyeballs. He threw a hammer at a student, narrowly missing another student, and lodging it in the wall. They'd been tossing plastic cutlery at him, and he'd had enough. Honestly, they were poking a sleeping bear, because he'd made it clear from the day he arrived that he had some sort of mental condition that made him a compulsive liar, but in the terrifying way. Like he told me directly about how he murdered his own mother, a lady who regularly dropped him off at school so dull with a screwdriver. People at my school were very, very dumb. But he got expelled immediately. Where did he get the hammer? Did he just have it with him? It was during theater class and they were all building the set for some play they were putting on. I can't remember which one, but it had to do with someone getting divorced. Recording himself jerking off and leaving the VHS tape in the AV room. Who was he jerking off to? No, I never got the details. Probably Japanese rope bondage or something. Smoking a bong in the middle of the playground. I'm picturing an elementary school kid, lol. Some third grader. We had one kid get expelled for punching the vice principal in the face. The vice principal later got fired for sexually harassing the female students. Face puncher was and still remains a hero. When I was a junior in high school, the senior prank that year was to steal all the science videos from the office, all VHS, and record porn onto them at various parts, then return the tapes. For years, teachers would be putting on tapes about fossil fuels or mitochondria or crepuscular carnivores, and 20 minutes in boom dick in an asset full volume. Science department finally gave up trying to find them all and just threw them all away. The year of the prank, the student who organized it was expelled because someone spilled the beans. Oh my god, that's peeping genius. There was a kid in the school who was notorious for not showering. It was absolutely disgusting, but he didn't exactly have the best home life, so no one was really gonna say anything. One day, the kid sitting behind him decided to light the no shower's greasy hair on fire. It went up like a fireball, and the smell that ensued would make an onion cry. Needless to say, the kid with the lighter didn't make it through the rest of the day. You make it sound like he was murdered. We thought he was. When I say it was a fireball, it was a literal ball of hair grease fire that smelled like you can imagine it would. It looked like he was napalmed. It was only ablaze for a few seconds. He came back to school the next day completely bald. Did it ever grow back? Eventually, yeah. But not to what it was before. Before it was down to his shoulders. By the time the school year ended, I'd say graduation. But he didn't graduate, it was like a buzz cut. Went to kindergarten with a kid named Marshall who was always getting in trouble until one day they finally just kicked him out of school for spraying a fire extinguisher all over the room and somehow getting his own human speep in no fewer than 9 cubby holes where we kept our lunches. You have to be a goddamn rockstar to get kicked out of kindergarten. I went to school with a kid named Marshall, too. He was a new student and came in 4th grade. One day he refused to get on the school bus. He was just standing in front of the door to the bus holding his arms out so they couldn't put him on the bus. It took the principal, 2 teachers, and the bus driver to pry his hands off the bus. They took him kicking and screaming into the office and he never came back to school. I saw him years later. He grew up to be as strange as I'd imagined he would be. No speep. That kid was named Marshall too. My favorite memory was him running down the hallway tipping over desks and shouting into the office phones. My teacher ended up getting a child handling license, I think. This wasn't Western Washington, was it? This is so bizarre. Kid named Marshall got expelled at my high school too. They caught him doing circles in the parking lot, screaming "I don't give a f" peep with the windows down and the system up. Did he also work at Burger King and spit on the onion rings? A kid in my high school brought an airsoft gun in his truck on the one day of the year that my school decided to perform a modified lockdown, which is really just a different way of saying we are searching your speep for drugs. So he gets called outside to unlock his car so that the police can further analyze this obviously fake, see-through plastic toy gun. And what do? Payday, fellas. We got exactly what we were looking for. Poor kid got expelled. I will never forget sitting in chemistry with the windows open at the front of the school when he drove by in his truck screaming FCK High School's name. His adopted mom was a 7th grade teacher. Doesn't really mean anything, but just an interesting bit of information. That's so dumb. Poor guy didn't even bring it inside. Who cares if it's on school property? I'd understand if it was black and had the orange tip removed, but nope. Yeah, he was pissed. Our school had almost no drug use and mostly complacent kids, so I guess they just felt they needed to justify putting us on lockdown to look for illegal stuff. Went to an all-guys Catholic high school. One of the teachers was trying to become a deacon or something and had to videotape himself hosting a service. He taught religion, so he used a class period to take his students to the chapel and record his service. He had to go back to the classroom for something, and one of the kids got up and began desecrating everything. Mock blowjobs of the candles, humping the crucifix, fake sermons, the whole 9 yards. The kid returns to his seat before the teacher ever gets back and all the students don't say anything. The camera was rolling the whole time. Vid or it didn't happen. Perhaps some other time. Father. She pinned a girl against a wall and stared at her crotch saying dinner time or I'm hungry, something along those lines. She was just really weird and I do legitimately think she was mentally ill. Dinner time. _ Bangs 4-foot metal rod that's attached to my crotch against tall metal pole bridge. I forgot about that video. Pulled out his dick in the medical room in front of a 2nd year girl. 2nd year university, or like grade 2? 2nd year of secondary school. In the UK you're in primary elementary school from age 4 to 11 and after that you do 4 to 6 years in secondary school. Then round about the age of 16 to 18 you leave and move on to college or university depending on what you want to do. So this girl would have been about 13 and he was 17. This kid wanted to drop out of school, but his parents wouldn't let him. Told the principal that there was a gun in the bathroom airsoft, and once he and principal and vice principal arrived at the bathroom and police were called, he told them that he brought the gun into school. Put a porn VHS in class when he knew we were gonna be having a chill day. Hid the remote in his pants. So the teacher was kinda freaking Tino why the teacher didn't think of unplugging the TV. He then turned off the lights and threw a desk at the teacher. One time a guy put 2 guys 1 horse on the projector when the teacher was out of the classroom. Didn't even get expelled for it, only suspended. I'm not even joking. Stealing water. My sister's child was close to death. We were thirsty. You'll thirst again. Until you learn the meaning of the law. Prisoner H 24601. Drug sniffing dogs came to school and had a pretty good time with his car. The way you phrased that, I'm imagining the dogs all getting high with his stash after they found it. I was imagining something more sexy. He drew over 1,000 pictures of Dixie on a separate sheet of paper and then proceeded to skip down the hallway during class and toss them all over the school. When he was brought into the office, they showed him a picture of him doing it. He asked the principal if he could keep the picture as a memory. Who's been drawing dicks? Close up of Bonz's face.